Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, where we are here today to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all sorts of good stuff. I'm joined, of course, by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
How you doing, John? I'm glad that the Dodgers won that second game. I was worried about you.
Well, yeah, it made things a lot easier to live in my house right now. You know what? Tonight, I'm going to my first World Series game tonight.
Really?
Yeah, Ann and I, and Jonathan as well.
Yep.
I've never been to a World Series game.
Wow.
And tonight I'll
All
be
right.
going to the World Series. I don't think I'll be wearing a Toronto Blue Jays jersey.
I dare you.
I kind of thought you might have.
I dare you.
No, I won't. I'm not going to wear a Dodgers jersey, but
Right, you'll be neutral.
I probably, well, I'm not going to be neutral.
Dude,
either.
imagine the social media. You can make a whole series of videos with you and Ann bickering in the stands.
Oh, it'll probably happen. But, I mean, listen, I'm in a great spot when it comes to this World Series because even though I'm not the biggest baseball fan in the world, I get very invested when we get into the playoffs of just about any sport. But obviously, the team I want to win is the Toronto Blue Jays. But if the Blue Jays were not there, the other team I would be cheering for to win the World Series is the team I live locally to, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'd be cheering for them. So it's either I win or I kind of win. So it's good for me all around. Anyway, guys.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's true. Guys, we're so glad that you're here. We got a number of things we're going to talk about here today, so let's not waste any time and get into it, shall we? We're going to start off with this. Taylor Sheridan is leaving Paramount. That was not a headline I was expecting to wake up to today. Taylor Sheridan, who I have most fondly remember him for his small, not terribly small, but his small role that he played in Sons of Anarchy. But he has gone on to be Paramount's absolute most prolific and successful TV showrunner, creator, and producer, doing shows like Yellowstone, what was the first one called? 1892 or whatever, 1883.
1883.
Yeah,
And then 1920.
1923. He, of course, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, Landman, which is big for them right now.
You wrote and directed Wind River.
I loved Wind River so much.
You wrote Sicario.
Yep. Yes, he did. But for Paramount specifically, he has been major. And Ellison recently said that he's their top priority. And of course he is. Well, now, according to this headline that we've got coming out of Deadline here, Taylor Sheridan's leaving Paramount to go to NBC Universal. Let me read the article here because this is kind of nutty. It says, Paramount will lose its most prolific television creator, Taylor Sheridan, who has closed a long-term film and television deal with NBC Universal. Deadline is confirmed. The massive 5-year overall deal for film, TV, and streaming will begin January 1st of 2029. So still a little ways off. After Sheridan's overall TV deal with Paramount ends, it goes through to the end of 2028. Also moving to NBC Universal is Sheridan's close collaborator and producing partner, David Glazer, and his 101 Studios. Glazer has signed a first-look film and TV deal with the new studio that will begin in early 2026 after his company fulfills its current obligations to Paramount. All right, again, you want to talk about things that are working at Paramount? Got Top Gun. Got that. There are other things, but the conversation starts and ends with Taylor Sheridan. Like, he has carried that brand for the last number of years. I mean, and like Yellowstone is one of my favorite things to have been on TV in a long time. Mayor of Kingstown is fantastic. Landman is great. I wasn't big on 1923, to be honest with you, but 1883, fantastic. I mean, he's just been killing it for him, and they're letting him leave. And it's funny, what makes this the most shocking was, again, the comments that Ellison made just a couple of months ago saying, oh, yeah, our number one guy is Taylor Sheridan. That's the guy. This is after they took over Paramount. He goes, he's our priority, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't able to close the deal. And, you know, it's funny because recently they announced that Paramount just got the Duffer Brothers, who did Stranger Things. And it started to look like for a while, well, oh my God, we're going to have the Duffer Brothers and Taylor Sheridan creating new stuff for Paramount Plus. This is going to be, well, they still got Taylor Sheridan for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But then he's flying the coop and he's going to be gone. And this is kind of a wake-up call, I think, to everybody in the business. This is NBC Universal. This is Comcast going, oh, in case you forgot, we still have more money than most of you. And we're pretty big. We're pretty big. And we are in it to win it, and we are playing hardball. And clearly they were willing to give Taylor Sheridan something that maybe even Paramount wasn't willing to give him. Now, I believe that even though he leaves, I believe all the properties he's created over at Paramount stay at Paramount. So I think Landman will continue to be a Paramount property.
Sure.
Tulsa King, Stallone at 98 years old is still doing Tulsa King, I guess, which is a really good show, by the way. I like that.
The 98 years old.
Yeah, it's at some point it's going to be 98. Yellowstone has not one, not two, but 3 spinoffs of Yellowstone coming, including a one about Rip, one about something else, and one about something. They got 3 coming. They got a number of things
Rip
coming with it.
another guy,
Another thing, and that other thing. So, I mean, Paramount's going to get to keep all that. That's good. But I felt like every other week, this brand new thing with Taylor Sheridan would come out. And Rob, I'm not going to lie to you. I never even considered the possibility that Taylor Sheridan would leave his deal at Paramount. This is the first big L for Paramount since the Skydance merger, because they've been listing off a lot of great things, a lot of big things. They've been accomplishing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, things that look poised very well for the future. This ain't one of them. So to you, were you surprised to see this news, and what stands out to you the most, and how big of a deal is this for Paramount?
Well, he doesn't go over there until 2029.
Yeah, he's still there for a couple of years.
Yeah, he's still there for a couple of years. So, I mean, it comes down to the fact, I think, really, that while Paramount, I think that Paramount is probably losing a great talent in Taylor Sheridan, people need to change at some point, and I do think that they're still going to get 3 years out of him. And I think it's gotten to the point where I'll bet you that his deal is so rich now because his shows are all hits, one after another after another. I mean, Star Trek isn't propping up Paramount. It's Taylor Sheridan is. And, dude, I watch those shows like Landman. That show's dope.
Oh, it's so good.
He's got this sort of powerhouse of, I call it powerhouse Americana, because he's doing all these American myth shows. Like, Tulsa King is like, let's take New York mobs and put them in Oklahoma. Let's take Old West and put it in modern, Montana or whatever. And then go back and do the Old West too. But then Mayor of Kingstown is just another Western set, another mob. It's what he's doing is a genius. He's just really good at it. So I think you're right. I think Comcast, he probably didn't expect to move, but Comcast probably swooped in and made him an offer he can't refuse to go back on the old mob, because they just probably rolled out the bucks. And after I bet Skydance is like, that's even a little too rich for our blood. But they're still going to benefit from his shows. They'll keep rolling on for at least another 3 years. Nothing new. He's not going to create anything new except those spinoffs. And I get it. It ain't show friends. Show business. And Taylor Sheridan's a businessman. And he's doing good. As long as his shows keep delivering, I mean, he's probably not going to, he's got his spinoffs like you pointed out, but he'll keep his shows going, get his huge fees. And his ranch that he's built in Texas, they shoot there.
Yeah, the 4.6s.
And so he's even did what Peter Jackson did. I'm going to put all my money in to build my infrastructure. Now you're going to rent it back from me. I mean, he's done good. That guy knows what's up.
Yeah.
I admire him.
Again, when you consider how it's not even just Taylor Sheridan, but when you consider how vital and important he has been to Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
He is Paramount Plus.
Yeah, he is.
And so his value to Paramount, I would think, would be higher than to any other studio. And I guess not, because NBC Universal Comcast is coming and whoop. By the way, how long till we get a Yellowstone land at one of the big Universal theme parks now? There's a Yellowstone land coming. Anyway, guys,
look like, yeah.
Question is for you. What do you think about this? Taylor Sheridan is jumping ship from Paramount. Granted, it's going to be a couple of years still, but he signed a new deal, and it ain't with Paramount. It's with NBC Universal. Whatever you guys think about that, jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You know, the other day, Netflix dropped one of their new prestige films that a lot of people got very excited about when the trailer dropped, and that's for A House of Dynamite. With Idris Elba in it.
Ferguson.
Rebecca Ferguson is in there. I mean, it's got a great cast.
Jared Harris.
Oh, yeah. Jared Harris, yeah.
I love Jared Harris. You know, he came into studio and let me interview him one time. He was
Really?
Yeah, he was great. I had him for like a whole afternoon.
I loved him on Mad Men.
Me too.
Oh,
So good.
and he's wonderful in Foundation. And well, he's wonderful in everything.
Yeah.
So
I hear his dad was pretty good too.
his dad wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whisper.
Rick
from-
something, Rich, something like that. You know, comes from a bloodline.
You knew Marcus Aurelius. I didn't say I knew him.
Listen. I thought the trailer, like everybody else, I thought the trailer was pretty hardcore. And you have, I believe, one of our great directors directing it, who comes via Hurt Locker, who comes via Detroit. By the way, if you haven't seen Detroit, watch it. It's one of those movies that was so impactful to me, I can't watch it again. Like it hit me in such a way, it was so powerful, I just can't watch it again. Like Catherine Bigelow is for real.
Oh, yeah.
So I went in and watched House of Dynamite the other night. I haven't been this disappointed in a while.
Oh.
Now, that is not to say that I think the movie is terrible. It's just that I had some friends that I know were saying this might be one of the best movies of the year, and the trailer looked great to me. And I sat down and watched it. And again, it's not that it's terrible, but the difference between what I was expecting it to be and what it actually ended up being for me is quite vast. The best way I know how to describe it, Rob, is to say this movie feels like the first 15 minutes of a much bigger, much better movie. Because, guys, if you've seen the trailer for this movie, you've seen the movie. I'm not kidding. You've seen it. The premise, of course, as is communicated in the trailer, is that the United States detects a single nuclear warhead is flying towards the States. And now they're all rushing to figure out, what do we do? How do we respond? And they've only got 17 minutes to do it. And the movie employs one of those mechanisms that we've seen in some other movies where it tells like 15, 20 minutes of the story. And then it goes back to the beginning and tells the same 15 or 20 minutes, but from a different person's perspective. And then it repeats it again. Now, unlike a movie like, say, Ridley Scott's The Last Duel, which every time they told the story from a different perspective, the story changes a bit because it's being told from another person's perspective. But in House of Dynamite, no. It's the exact same story, exact same lines of dialogue, exact same actions. Just every time they repeat it, we see something that we didn't see in the previous telling of it, but not enough to make it material. And oh, by the way, I'm going to spoil the end. You don't know what the end is. They don't end it. The movie doesn't give you the ending. We don't find out what happens to Chicago. We don't find out what happens, whatever. It's basically a 17-minute movie of, somebody's launched a missile. We can't figure out who it is. And we get to decide, do we retaliate, even though we don't know who we're retaliating against, or do we show restraint and not retaliate? Okay, that's in the trailer. That's the whole effing movie. It's the whole effing movie. That was it. I kept on expecting, like, when they would tell something, to learn something. What should have happened was when they were in the second and third retellings of the 17 minutes of the story, that each one of those things should have revealed something that made me go, oh my God, that casts what I saw in the first telling of it in a different light. But it doesn't do that either. Mm-hmm. We see some general on the screen going, wow, what did you think of that baseball game last night? to just having the camera in the room with the same general saying the same line. I got to say, guys, listen, a lot of times I agree with the majority of the critics because if a movie's really good, I think it's really good. But I don't see the appeal. And you know what? It was kept building up. It'll disturb you as to whatever. And I'm watching, it's like, even in the movie, they say it should be impossible that a launch could happen that we didn't detect and that we can't completely pinpoint where it came from. So right in the movie itself, they tell us it's kind of science fiction. I can't feel completely disturbed if it's not a scenario that's actually realistic that could happen. So, yeah, by the time it ended, I was just kind of looking at the screen going, that was it? That was it? Performances are great. The music in it is surprisingly good. Like I remember,
really good.
Yeah, the music in it really feeds into the environment of what's going on. And I felt a great buildup of tension in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Then that tension is gone. They try to repeat it a second and a third time. It's like, I already know everything that happens. I can't feel tension again. You already gave me the tension in the first little bit of the film. So again, Rob, to me, this entire movie felt like the first act. This felt like an incomplete movie. And it felt like the first act of what would be a bigger and better movie. So I got to say, I didn't like it. I did not find myself when it was all said and done, I was like, I could have spent my time watching something else. So I got to admit, man, even though I love Catherine Bigelow.
I do too.
And I love everybody in this movie. I got to say, I'm pretty disappointed with it myself. Anyway, Rob, you saw it as well. What are your thoughts on the House of Dynamite?
Well, I'm conflicted because like you, I thought this movie was incredibly well made. I thought it was pretty brilliantly acted. The real problem I had with the script, I would say that, John, I hate to say this, but I love movies about potential nuclear apocalypse. And I've loved them since I was a little kid. There's an incredible movie from the 60s called Failsafe.
That's what I was telling John
Yeah,
today.
we were talking, Jonathan. Before.
Failsafe.
Yeah.
Before you came in, I was like, it's this. They could have just remade Failsafe.
Yeah, which George Clooney did. They did it live.
Yeah.
I think they did. So when I was a little kid and saw Failsafe, I was like, oh my God. And then, of course, in the 80s when they had The Day After, the BBC movie Threads, which is post-it. So I love, and Jack Shoulder's movie and By Dawn's Early Light, that was an early HBO movie, is incredible. The problem that I have with this film is, like you said, it has no ending. It's not as satisfying. You're watching this and it starts out, the tension, it's like you're going up on a roller coaster, but then there's no more tension. Yeah. There's no more, and the first section of the film, I'm like, oh my God, they're taking you along.
Can I piggyback on your analogy just for a second?
Yeah.
I love the analogy you just gave about this roller coaster. Like the first 15 minutes of the movie, like, oh. And then in a roller coaster, then goes, right? This movie goes, and then
becomes the monorail ride.
Yeah. And then becomes the monorail.
Yeah,
for the entire rest of the hour and a half.
I think in a lot of people, I've seen a lot of online criticism of this, and people are unsatisfied. The thing that this movie doesn't have is it can't leave the perspective that it's telling the story from. But the perspective that it's telling the story from, by definition, doesn't have the ending it needs. The cautionary ending that we all need to see. So what if I had made this movie, and I understand that you needed the people on the ground at ground zero. You just needed people going about their day that had no idea what was coming.
Because you didn't see any of that.
You don't see any of that. And the thing is, without that perspective, you only have the perspective of the people you see the movie from, and they're watching everything through screens. They're nowhere near the action, except the people in Alaska that are trying to shoot down this missile. But they're nowhere near, so you can't get to the thing that you want to see. But
I think it's not just for anybody thinking we're just looking for destruction porn.
No, I don't think that.
Yeah. Do we want to see what happens to Chicago? Yes. But what's even, I think, more egregious, Rob, is that right from the beginning, it's setting up this whole thing. Okay, what do we do in response to this? And it all builds up to the president making a decision. Do we show restraint or do we retaliate?
Yes.
And if we retaliate, who are we retaliating against? We don't even get a decision from the president. The movie ends before the decision. So this whole thing, we're like, what are they going to do in response?
Yes,
you don't even know.
I think both of
they
those
don't
things.
tell us that either.
Yeah, and I was going to say that was the other thing, is that you need that perspective, because any one of these movies, and Failsafe is the single best movie I think ever
Yeah.
to deal with.
Dude, I love Failsafe. I remember watching that.
The solution at the end of Failsafe is monstrous. It's absolutely monstrous. And even as a little kid, I was like, no. It was one of the first movies that made me realize the power of film, going, no way. By the way, it is a black and white movie.
Dude, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's just incredible. And that movie's better than this movie. But I will say, I more than you, I enjoyed watching it because the editing is incredible. And I thought the performances were terrific. But the
cinematography is great.
Yeah.
Editing is great.
Music is great.
The performances are great. You just needed a movie to go with it.
It didn't go anywhere.
We didn't
But
have it.
I would say if people are looking for something like in this genre that's current, Paradise.
Yeah.
I know it didn't start with that episode, but man, that episode nailed it.
Oh, Paradise delivered.
Oh my! What was it? Episode 7?
I think
Yeah, it was
8,
in
7 or
there.
8.
7 or 8 is like, oh my!
I can't wait
God.
till that show comes back.
No, I get it. House of Dynamite is it supposed to be a different story than Paradise? Yes, and I understand the premise that it's supposed to be the chilling realization that we may not be as prepared as we think we are. Okay, but then you put in scenarios that are supposed to be impossible. And then you just tell the story 3 times over without adding anything new to the story as we go. We're just hearing the same lines of dialogue and the same character saying things, but just with the camera in a different room. It just ended, Rob, and I felt deflated.
Yeah, and there's been, I hate to say it, but this genre of film has delivered goods. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm a huge fan of the Jack Ryan, Hunt for Red October, Clear and Present Danger.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Sum of All Fears deals with some of the same issues
Yes.
with the Ben Affleck, young
Yep.
Jack Ryan. That movie's directed by Phil Alden Robinson. That movie's great.
I don't think it's the best of the Jack Ryan movies, but I think it's a good movie.
For what it
Yeah.
is. It's really, you've got the cast in that movie is so great. Morgan Freeman, it's so good. And that movie gives you an ending that you want.
Yes, it does.
So, I mean, I'm not arguing to show the mass murder of an entire American city.
But again, narratively,
yeah,
it was pretty unsatisfying, and it breaks my heart because I'm a big Catherine Bigelow fan, man. I was so looking forward to this, and I don't know. For me, it's not now, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, don't just go by with what we're saying. As of right now, it does have I think a 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that, which means the majority of the critics like
Yeah.
it. So you might like it too. Definitely give it a shot if you're interested in it. I'm just letting you know in advance.
it did elicit emotion in me. The first 30 minutes, I was like,
I'd say the first 20 minutes. Yeah. And then it kind of just dissipated, went away. Anyway, guys, did you have a chance to see House of Dynamite? If so, what did you think about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, it has been a phenomenon. That first It movie came out. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Did bonkers at the box office. I didn't like It Chapter 2 nearly as much, to be honest. But still, now we got Welcome to Derry coming. The trailers have looked kind of spooky. Although I've been worried from the trailers, it kind of looks like it's going to be more of a human drama with, oh, and by the way, in the background, there's a killer clown in the sewers. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But I sat down last night and watched the first episode of what is now called It, Welcome to Derry, which I think is a change of title. I think it was just called Welcome to Derry.
it was just called Welcome to Derry.
It is now officially called It, Welcome to Derry. And I sat down and watched the first episode last night, and it was a little bit of a roller coaster for me. I didn't think it started all that well, to be honest. But as it progressed, it got better. And I got to say this. I was expecting 95% human interaction, family moving to a new town, but something feels different here with like maybe 2 or 3% supernatural stuff. Not what they did. Not what they did. They come out of the gate supernatural, and it's horror. It is a horror series. And so I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the fact that it really does kind of live up to that this is it, and this is a horror series, and we're going for it. Do I think this episode was great? I'm not there. I'm not willing to sit back and say this is a great first episode. But I will say it was much better than I thought I would think it would be.
That's good.
And it surprised me. And it's got me. Like I am now like, okay, let's watch episode 2. And by the way, they decided to take advantage of Halloween. And they're going to release the second episode a little bit early for Halloween, which I think was a very good decision on their part. So I'm going to go out and say, well, I didn't think it was great. I liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. And I am now officially on board. I will continue to watch this series. And again, with some really, really pleasant surprise that it's far more horror and far more supernatural than I thought they were going to do with the series. And I'll even use the word, Rob, it felt cinematic. Felt cinematic. A little bit of we've been here, done this before, even just within the mythology. There were sections of the film that felt, or of the episode that felt, pardon me, a little bit slow. Kids are supposed to be stupid, so I'll give them that. But overall, I liked it more than I thought it would. Now, you didn't have a chance to watch it yet because you were busy in post-production, but where's your expectation been and what have you heard about the first episode so far?
Look, I mean, I read it when it was released, the summer of '86, I think is when it came out. And I love the book, and I love
Tim Curry in the first
Tim
one.
Curry was in a TV
one?
miniseries.
Right.
Yep. I loved that. That was fun. The movies, like you said, I like part 1 better than part 2, but I still liked it all. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Obviously, I've been a Stephen King acolyte forever, since I was a little kid. And Stephen King books were my YA fiction. Be that the Stand was my Hunger Games, but or my Twilight. But I'm looking forward to this. I really hope it's good. My only question, John, is if all of these shenanigans are going down in this town, why does anybody still live there? I'd move.
Yeah, well, remember, this is early.
I know.
This is a prequel, and I am not normally a prequel guy. I prefer stories going forward. I don't need to go backwards and see stories. There are some exceptions, Andor, for example. But I wasn't, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting to like this. And I quite like it. Again, I'm not going to say it's great so far, but good start. It's a good start.
And I'm going to watch it today.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. Without giving any spoilers away. Last 10, 15 minutes of the episode, bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
That's
the last
good.
10 to 15 minutes. So even if I hated the first 45 minutes, which I didn't, but even if I hated the first 45 minutes, that last 10, 15 minutes totally would have had me hooked for next week. But the first 45 minutes are still pretty good. And then bonkers last 15 minutes. Like, it was nuts. It was really nuts.
Count me in.
Yeah, check it out. I want to give me a text once you watch the episode because I want to know what you guys think. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to watch the first episode of It? Welcome to Derry. If so, what did you think? I'm not ready to call one of the great shows of the year so far, but I think it's a pretty solid start with some really great things about it. Whatever you guys thought about, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to play ourselves a little game of What's More Likely. A little bit earlier today, I jumped into our community tab and I fired off a question to you guys saying, hey, do you have any What's More Likely scenarios for us? Send them on in and we'll pick out a few to use on the show. Jonathan has picked out a few. He's got them over there. So, Jonathan, let's get things started. What do we got up first?
All right. From Ben, what's more likely, Dodgers win tonight or Blue Jays? Dodgers win, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the question. Ben Braddock, what's more likely, Kevin Spacey having a career resurgence or Armie Hammer having one, Rob?
I think Armie Hammer, because Armie Hammer really didn't, I mean, he cheated on his wife, I guess, but he didn't really do anything. Like he was prosecuted. He was in the court of public opinion because he said he had crazy fantasies. Talking about being a
he had an X or two saying some damaging things about him, critical things about him.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Armie Hammer. But on the other hand, Kevin Spacey's been making some movies. I think he directed a film and he's been at a film festival or two.
Yep, some smaller scale movies that trailers have come out, been mostly ignored.
Yeah.
So you're going to go with Armie Hammer?
I'm going to go with Armie Hammer.
You know,
Because he's got his podcast now.
I am going to say, first of all, it's something that's important that needs to be noted about both of these guys. Neither of them have ever been convicted of anything.
Right.
That's not to say that they're good people. That's not to say that they're not good people. That's simply a statement of fact. Neither of them have been convicted of anything. Notably, the Kevin Spacey stuff, where he was charged with multiple things in multiple countries. And, you know, I pulled this up. In the United Kingdom in 2023, he had a 2023 trial in London, and he was acquitted. He was acquitted in the UK of any sexual assault offenses and stuff like that. He got acquitted. In 2022 in the United States, in New York, he was found not liable in a lawsuit that was brought against him. And in other U.S. investigations, criminal investigators in Massachusetts and California dropped their cases from lack of evidence. Again, that is not a definitive statement of saying Kevin Spacey was completely innocent, but as far as any criminal convictions, wasn't. And Armie Hammer, same thing.
Yeah.
He was never convicted of anything.
I do think, though, with both of these situations now, people are not going to hesitate to speak out. And so they kind of have to, even if they did nothing, they have to watch their P's and Q's now.
Well, see, that's the thing with situations like this, right? There are going to be people, and by the way, I think Kevin Spacey is I think both Kevin Spacey and Armie Hammer are fantastic actors. I really do. There's going to be a lot of people that will jump up and say, everybody who is an expert on how other people should spend their money will jump up and say, Kevin Spacey deserves another chance, or Armie Hammer deserves it. You should give him, he deserves it. But the problem is, it doesn't matter that Kevin Spacey, well, it does matter that he wasn't convicted of anything, but I mean, for a lot of the studios, it won't matter that he wasn't convicted of anything. And for Armie Hammer, it won't matter that he wasn't convicted of anything. If you're a producer and you've got $30 million on the line, and you can put in some really talented actor who will come in and do a good job for your movie and help promote your movie, or you could go hire a Kevin Spacey or an Armie Hammer who is going to just flood and bury your project in controversy, and everybody's just going to be talking about the controversy, not your project, and your money will make less money as a result of it. It's hard to imagine, Rob, for me, either one of these guys getting a legitimate resurgence. That said, the risk, I believe, on Armie Hammer is a little bit less than the risk on Kevin Spacey. So I would say it would be more, although unlikely for both, I think it would be more likely that Armie Hammer would get a resurgence than Kevin Spacey at this point. Be interesting to see. All right, what's next?
Sound argument.
All right, next up, John, what's more likely here? We hear from Eric Lee, who says, Avengers Doomsday moves release or Dune 3 moves release?
Both of these movies are scheduled to release on December 18th. Avengers and Doomsday and Dune 3. Okay. First of all, I've said for a long time, and I still believe, you can have the December month is very unique in all of the calendar year, that I believe you can have multiple big tent projects all release very close to each other in that month, because December is the #1 movie going month of the year. It ain't June. It's not July. It's December. That's when most people go see the movies, particularly right around Christmas time. So I've always said that you can release multiple films very close to each other when maybe you couldn't do that in, say, a September or a May. But on the same day? Now, many people will be quick to jump and say, well, Barbenheimer was two completely different movies, are aiming for two very different sets of demographics. I would propose, Rob, that a lot of the people who want to see Dune 3 are also really wanting to see Avengers Doomsday.
Dude, Doomsday.
It
Doomsday.
writes itself.
They should start marketing that on January 1st. And
Yep.
they shouldn't move the movies. And they should just leave them there. And
I agree.
Doomsday.
But you know what? I think one will move.
I do too.
They got to compete for some prime theaters, you know?
Well, I mean, they're going to have to do that even if they're released 2 weeks apart from
That's
each other.
true.
I would say the one more likely to move is going to be Dune 3. The reason is Doomsday's already made a significant move. Remember, Doomsday
Yeah.
was supposed to have a much earlier release date. It's already made a big, significant move. I think Marvel's going to say, we're not going to do it again. We're staying here. And they might even think we're comfortable staying here and having Dune open on the same day. We think there's plenty of business for both of us. Dune also might be thinking there's plenty of business for both of us. And so I think Dune 3 will move. I don't think by much, but I think it'll be the one that moves. Anyway, Rob, what about you?
I think you're probably right. However, Doomsday has been made. They basically gave it almost a year of post-production time. Extra.
Yeah.
So whereas Dune 3 is in production and it's probably going to be they're going to work on it up to the release date. I agree with you, but it wouldn't surprise me if they moved up Doomsday to Thanksgiving.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know what else is coming out. I don't know if Disney has something else on that spot, like an
I could
animated
get behind
film.
that move. I could, because there's a lot of money to be made on the Thanksgiving Day weekend.
And then
the
it would
movie.
play. It would be able to play into December. It just depends what's coming out for
like
Thanksgiving.
that.
Yeah, but they've just had a lot more time to make the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas Dune does not. I mean, as far as I know, they're in production. I don't know if they've wrapped yet, but their post-production. I mean, they still both could be finished, so they could move either one. But I think one of them would move up to the Thanksgiving a month. Why not?
But which one? Which one's more likely to move?
Oh, I think Doomsday only because
I like your. I'm going to stick with Dune, but I like your reasoning for Doomsday being the one to move. All right, what's next?
Because there's going to be a third Avengers movie. Remember?
Yeah.
We think.
Yeah.
We'll know in December.
We deciphered it. All right. Question number 3, Rob. This is going back to you. When Berserk says, what's more likely to drop, a trailer at the Super Bowl, Avengers Doomsday, or Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Well, now we've heard there's an Avengers trailer coming out with Avatar, right?
Right.
We heard that at the end. So
but there's also been a report that Spider-Man's going to release one with Avatar, and it's some conflicting information.
Well, Spider-Man comes out in July, so I'm going to think. Wait, we're not doing what's more likely.
Yes.
I think it's Spider-Man. It's more than likely we're going to get a Spider-Man trailer for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I completely agree, because I believe we are going to get a Doomsday first preview with Avatar.
Yeah.
I know there have been some conflicting reports saying they're actually going to do Spider-Man No Way Home or Spider-Man Brand New Day, but I don't think it will be. I think it'll be, and again, this is just me speculating as a fan. I'm not saying this is based on insider information. I think it's going to be Doomsday that gives us our first peek at it with Avatar. And I think that's going to drive more people to go see Avatar. I think it's going to be good all around.
And Spider-Man's not a Disney release.
It's a Sony release.
Sony release.
But for Super Bowl, it's a July release, right?
Yeah. For sure.
That's like 4 months out.
Yeah, dude.
That is, not only is it Super Bowl, 4 months out, 4 or 5 months out is your optimal peak time to make your first big splash.
And they'll probably do an entire trailer, not like a 30-second.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know.
You're spending the amount of money you got to spend for a 30-second spot.
What they do is
they do the 30-second one, but they'll have the
Super
whole
Bowl
and
and
they'll have the whole trailer drop. Yeah,
It'll be one of those. They'll show you the best 30 seconds of the trailer. Then I'll say full trailer available online now.
Yeah.
But I think for Super Bowl, I think it's going to be Spider-Man Brand New Day. Yeah.
Plus, Spider-Man's more. Spider-Man has, I think, a wider appeal to the football audience. You know, because everyone knows Spider-Man. Spider-Man's
everybody knows Avengers too.
It's true, but you know, Spider-Man. I mean, the Electric Company.
I would not put it past
the Electric Company.
Yeah, I would not put it past at least a new TV spot for a Doom.
Oh yeah, I mean, there'll probably be a Doomsday spot too, but I think Spider-Man for sure.
Yeah, Spider-Man, I think is the more likely one.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Next up, John. What's more likely? Wait, did I start? Let's see.
Yeah, you to me this time.
Yeah. Okay. Nick Staker. What's more likely, a Knights of the Old Republic movie trilogy or Disney Plus series?
You know, okay, I'm going to say this. What's more likely out of the two? Not necessarily which would be better, but what's more likely? It really feels like right now Lucasfilm is being directed to focus more on getting the theatrical stuff running again. And there seems to be a lot less on the palette for television and their Disney Plus stuff, which has not gone well for them.
Right. No.
Not gone well for them. I saw this great Instagram reel. I wish I could have prepared it. I should have had it here. But it said Star Wars on Disney Plus. And it's got this little kid with the word, the backlight above it, singing My Heart Will Go On from Titanic really badly. Near, far, wherever you are. And then it has another little kid, and it says Ahsoka above it, also singing, and I know that my heart... And then it says Obi-Wan, another kid, my heart will go on. And then it says Andor, and it's Celine Dion singing it, right? But I mean, that's been Star Wars on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it seems to be that they're focusing more now. They're directing their energies to reestablishing Star Wars on the big screen. Of course, I'm very excited for this Starfighter project. I wish I was more excited for The Mandalorian. Hopefully it'll be great. I'd be lying if I said I was super excited about it, because I'm not, but I am very excited about Starfighter and what could come after that. So I'm going to say it's more likely that they do it as a movie, because that seems to be the direction they're heading in. Anyway, Rob, what about you?
Look, I think it's probably more likely as a movie as well. As a matter of fact, look, you get the right creative team, that's your Star Wars Lord of the Rings. If you plan those movies and make them all at once,
Yeah.
and release them year after year after year for 3 years, if you get, I could see them able to entice somebody like Tony Gilroy to come back. Because it's like, look, you wanted to tell your story about fascism, and you wanted to tell your story about the rise of authoritarianism and what you did in Andor. You could use the Knights of the Old Republic and tell a classical story about power corrupting absolutely, and all these. That's the kind of thing where you go, look, man, you're not making a Star Wars movie. You're making a movie like Game of Thrones, tell the War of the Roses, or go back and whatever it is, and it's metaphoric, and you could make it epic. And if you told them that you're going to do this and you make the movies all at once with that writing staff, you get Dan Gilroy to come back, you get, Los Bros Gilroys. I mean, it could be awesome. But I think that Knights of the Old Republic, which, by the way, every Star Wars fan could have told you that they should have done something about that. I mean, if you look at...
Remember D&D from Game of Thrones? They were supposed to do a Knights of the Old Republic thing.
And that would have been the way to go. Although I don't know if they would have... Although I'm happy that I really liked Three Body Problem. So
they did a great job on that.
I can't wait for that second and third season. But yeah, I think Knights of the Old Republic's most likely. As a movie.
As a movie. All right. All right, what's next?
Next up, Rob, what's more likely here? We hear from Everett. Who's more likely to be a bigger success, Duffers at Paramount or Sheridan at NBC?
That's a good one.
A good one.
That's a really good one. But here's the thing. Like, the Duffers do work with Sean Levy. Mm-hmm. So that is a great partnership. But Taylor Sheridan has shown a little bit more diversity in what he's done. Didn't he also write Hell and High Water?
Yes.
So you've got Sicario, Hell and High Water, and Wind River that he directed on the feature side. And then you've got all the shows.
Actually, I think he directed. I could be wrong. Fact check me on that. I think he might have directed Hell or High Water as well.
I'll look it up.
Either way, that movie's
I don't know if he
awesome.
did.
I love Hell or High Water.
I do too.
So
I love Hell or High Water. So he's got the movie side covered, and at the same time, all these different shows. Mayor of Kingstown, like we've talked about before. So I'm going to go with him at Universal only because he's shown more diversity.
David Mackenzie.
He directed Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
Only because the Duffer Brothers have only made... I mean, the Duffer Brothers did make a movie that's actually pretty interesting, and I can't think of the name of it, when the family goes into the shelter. I forget the name of that movie, but it's pretty good. But they haven't done anything more. Whereas Taylor Sheridan's done a lot more diverse stuff. So when he goes to Universal, I think his canvas is bigger. So he'll probably have more to do. But the Duffer Brothers, they're an unknown quantity, and they need to prove themselves. So maybe they'll come out guns blazing, but I'm going to go with Sheridan.
Yeah, I got to go with you on that. I got to go with Sheridan. Listen, I think getting the Duffer Brothers is a great move. Great move, coming off of Stranger Things. But you ask anybody, Duffer Brothers, Stranger Things. Say Taylor Sheridan, talking Yellowstone, Mayor of Kingstown, Lioness, Landman, 1883, 1923, Mayor of Kingstown, all done in 6 months.
And Denis Villeneuve directed one of his scripts.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, but it feels like all in 6 months.
Yeah.
Whereas it's taking the Duffers 10 years to do one series. Again, I think the Duffers will do very well at Paramount. I really do. But if you're asking me to put my money on one or the other of which will have like the greatest impact and more success, yeah, easily, I got to say Taylor Sheridan. All right, what's next?
Okay, last up. John, what's more likely here when we hear from Ariane, who says, or Arya, what's more likely, DCU to continue or get another restart after the sale of WB? Yeah,
this is a question that has had different forms come at us for a while, like different variations, kind of really ultimately of the same question, which really is James Gunn still at Warner Brothers once Warner Brothers gets sold? And, for those of you who missed it, I did an editorial video on 3 reasons why you can expect James Gunn to leave and 3 reasons why you should expect James Gunn to stay after whatever merger happens, right? At the end of the day, though, here's the thing. And I was talking to a friend of mine prior to the show. James Gunn running DC is one of the reasons people would want to buy Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
It's one of the attractions. Just is. He has done the impossible, that he has resurrected the DC brand that was burned, dead, buried, and crapped on, and was just done as dinner. And he's brought it back to legitimacy. And that's one of the reasons you get it. Now, the one exception to that is, look, everybody knows that Donald Trump has his hand up the asses of the Ellisons and using them as meat puppets to do his bidding in order to get approval if they want the merger of Paramount. Everybody knows this. It's not a secret. Everybody on the left and the right all know it. We all acknowledge it. It's just a real thing. So there is a thought out there that because James Gunn doesn't particularly like the current person in the Oval Office, that the person in the Oval Office will, unscrupulously use their power to try to make sure, like certain late night talk show hosts had been got. But even with Paramount, if they're extending to David Zaslav, which we reported on this last week, as the reports come out that they're offering David Zaslav to be the CEO and chairman of the new company, the co-CEO and chairman with Ellison, James Gunn is David's boy.
Yeah.
James Gunn is Zaslav's guy. David Zaslav moved heaven and earth to get James Gunn to take that job. And David Zaslav is going to keep James Gunn. I mean, that's just it. David Zaslav is going to keep James Gunn, period. And I think every other studio other than Paramount would see James Gunn running DC as one of the reasons they want to buy it.
And don't forget about Peter Safran. I mean, they come together. They've been working together for 25 years. You're getting the guy who's responsible for the Conjuring universe, and they just have the most successful Conjuring film just came out, produced by Peter Safran. So, both James Gunn and Peter Safran are cornerstone parts of where Warner Brothers is right now. And James Gunn has 2 feature films coming out and a TV series. With Lanterns. I mean, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and look, the question is which is more likely. Now, I do want to point out that let's say if NBC Universal or Netflix, whatever, the same reasons I gave in my 3 reasons James Gunn might not be there. So, like, somebody like NBC Universal may step in and love what James Gunn has done. But as I gave in my illustration with the sports example, when a new GM comes in a sports team, even if the coach there is good and even if the staff is good, sometimes a new GM will want to clean house and bring in their own people that they know and have worked with and have trusted. And it could theoretically be that if, I don't know, let's say Apple buys Warner Brothers, they may just go, hey, James Gunn has been great, but we really want to infuse our own Apple culture into it. We have our own people. I mean, that's still a possibility. But if the question is what's more likely, the more likely scenario is that DC continues and with James Gunn and Peter Safran at the head. Anyway, Rob, what do you think?
I completely agree. I mean, I think that they're going to continue. I mean, they're in the middle. You don't get rid of people that are in the middle of spending millions or hundreds of millions of your dollars. You don't. You let them finish off their contracts. And by the way, that's what they would probably do. If anything happens, they've got contracts. And I don't know when those contracts are up, but they would honor the contracts the same way they would honor the contracts of Abdi and DeLuca. Those contracts are there. Otherwise, they have to pay them off. And in James Gunn's case, the contracts exist, and they have to pay off. They have to finish those movies without the studio that made them. You know, you can't get rid of. Why would you get rid of the heads of your studio of DC Studios in the middle of a merger? That's weird.
Well, also keep in mind, you know, Ellison is taking over Paramount, where he's picking up the ashes of something that we thought was going to go bankrupt. They're moving in to purchase Warner Brothers, which is just on not just for there's a winning streak, but they are very successful now.
Yeah,
we talked about how Zaslav has built this thing up from $45 million to like $75 million worth, right, in value. And billion and counting. So you're not going in there and removing the rubble and trying to rebuild it. That's built and building. So to go in there and hit that thing in the kneecap would be very stupid.
And by the way, if they had all those people there, I could imagine David Ellison picking up the phone going, "Hey, James, you know, you're kind of between movies. You have an idea for us? Maybe you'll do something else. Anything at Paramount you like? You know, I'll let you if you want to throw us an idea." I mean, it's all one big happy family. It's only opportunity.
Well, James Gunn in a Predator universe or something like that.
Well, no, I already think James Gunn is overstretched.
Yeah, he is.
That's my big criticism of of the way they're managing DC right now, the way James Gunn and Peter Safran are managing it. My one big criticism is the way that Gunn is way overextending himself. There's not a chance in hell that he can now go into another studio and add more stuff to it. But still, so again, we agree. We think it's more likely that they continue on. All right, guys. And that will wrap up today's session of What's More Likely. Thank you to everybody who sent in those scenarios for us to discuss, and keep your eyes open for when we do this again. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? All right. Everybody knows that movies like to get IMAX screens for their release. Now, look, there's not a hell of a lot of IMAX screens. It doesn't take your movie from being a $50 million movie to being a $300 million movie, but it does move the needle. I mean, it is, a big thing. It is highly sought after. For example, when Sinners was playing, not all the movie theaters were packing out, but if you wanted to see Sinners in IMAX, you had to book your tickets like 3 weeks in advance at one point. It was crazy. And so movies are already long-term trying to line up their IMAX spots. And it looks like in the IMAX game of musical chairs, one significant movie may have found itself without a seat, and that's Spider-Man Brand New Day. As new reports have come out, and we're taking this one over from Comic Book Movie, says it appears Spider-Man Brand New Day will not have an IMAX release next summer. According to new information shared by IMAX, Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures' Spider-Man Brand New Day is not currently scheduled for an IMAX release. IMAX has shared a look ahead to the movies that will play on its giant side screens in 2026 and 2027, as well as confirming that Supergirl and Avengers Doomsday are getting IMAX releases next year. It's also been revealed that Man of Tomorrow, or Superman Man of Tomorrow, the Batman 2 and Avengers Secret Wars will similarly get the IMAX treatment in 2027. Spider-Man Brand New Day, however, has been left out in the cold. Set for release on July 31st, 2026, the movie is sandwiched between two IMAX releases: Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, which they practically made for IMAX, on July 17th, and Warner Brothers' new film Flowervale Street, which has
Anne Hathaway
and Ewan McGregor are in that they apparently also kind of shot for IMAX, is coming out on August 14th.
And Nolan's Paw Patrol the Dino movie, don't forget.
Never forget. Nolan's next movie is getting extended run on IMAX. Isn't surprising, but a month's exclusivity, it's happened before. All right, look. It seems to me absolutely, to quote Vincini, inconceivable that Spider-Man Brand New Day would not get an IMAX release. When you're talking about Supergirl's going to get one, Doomsday, Secret Wars, Spider-Man or Superman Man of Tomorrow, They're all getting it. Now, nobody questions at all. Of course, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Well, Christopher Nolan has become Mr. IMAX. So that's understandable too. The very fact that Flowervale Street has kind of been made for IMAX, that kind of ensures its spot. But Flowervale Street doesn't come out till August 14th.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 weeks after Spider-Man's been out. Why could Spider-Man not get it? Well, it's like they said, it looks like The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan may have inked a 1 month full run in your IMAX screens.
That's crazy. A month?
1 month full run.
Yeah.
And right now, if you're
they've already sold tickets for it.
That they've already sold out. A year in advance, they have sold out their first weekends of screenings on IMAX. As inconceivable as it is that Spider-Man not getting an IMAX release, I have to admit that if I'm IMAX and Christopher Nolan says, hey, what's up? I got my newest movie coming. It's going to be this grand fantasy epic based on the classic tales. It's going to be The Odyssey. I have arguably one of the top 10 greatest casts ever assembled for a movie. And I want to put it on IMAX. And I'm shooting it with IMAX. But I want a full month. Now remember, this isn't John Campea saying it. This is some, bum hump nobody. This is Christopher Nolan.
Bum hump?
This is Christopher Nolan. If I'm the guy at IMAX, I'm sorry. But the answer is, yes, Mr. Nolan, sir. Would you like 6 weeks? Would you like 9 weeks? Whatever you want, Mr. That's exactly what IMAX is going to say to him.
I mean,
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so.
do you think this has something to do with Barbenheimer and sharing screens and not wanting to this time around?
No, I really don't. I just think, and look, if I'm Sony and Marvel, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not losing much sleep over it.
No.
I'm seeing it in Dolby anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. There's going
Yeah.
to be a lot of people like
I'm going
myself
to Dolby.
that if I go to the theater on July 31st and I've got an IMAX screen to see Spider-Man, or I've got a Dolby theater to see
Yeah.
Spider-Man, I love IMAX. Love it. But if I'm going to a theater that happens to have a Dolby Cinema in it, I'm going to try to get my tickets to the
Yeah, I
Dolby
mean,
Cinema.
even my local Harkins with their Cine XL thing.
Oh, and
I mean,
AMC has the XL theater as well.
yeah, and that's where I would,
just
I would
below
go.
IMAX.
And what does Galaxy have? Galaxy has like DFX. I think that's what their
RPX.
RPX,
No. It's they have this thing
There's
called
D-Box.
DF. Ann and I just went to go see. What did we go see? We went to go see Frankenstein, and they had it in like their DFX or something screen, and like I've never heard of that. It was basically an AMC Prime. It was the motorized leather recliner, the Dolby Atmos system, the Dolby Dual Laser. So it was exactly like an AMC Prime, but it was their version of it. And it was chef's kiss. It was a great viewing experience. It was my first time ever in a Galaxy theater, and I had a great time at it. So anyway, so back to you, Rob. Again, what do you think about this and Spider-Man not getting a spot?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal because listen, C-Note, he planned ahead. And he's making a movie. That guy is IMAX. He is the king of IMAX. And C-Note knows what's up. He made his plans early in the game. Sony did not. So you snooze, you lose. And if you're going up against Christopher Nolan, you got to know what's going to happen. And it makes sense to me that he blocked out a whole month. That's what he wants. That's his whole thing. I mean, and I like to see both him and James Cameron IMAX 3D. For these Avatar movies, the greatest 3D ever done. So, when you've got these two directors who, by the way, have been supporting this format almost from the beginning. I mean, Christopher Nolan with The Dark Knight was one of the first people that pioneered different aspect ratios.
Yeah.
So he's been, what was that? Dark Knight was 2009? When was that?
Oh,
that was
God,
about
was it
there.
that long ago?
But dude, we're talking, 16 years? C-Note was going all the way back to IMAX then.
Yeah.
Supporting them. So it's like you're not going to get past. And by the way, seeing Spider-Man...
2008.
2008. Okay, there you go. So 17 years. You go back and, God, that long. He deserves it. He's the guy. He's the guy. And I don't have a problem, unless Spider-Man was entirely shot for IMAX, which I don't believe it has been, whereas they entirely shot Odyssey with IMAX cameras, the whole movie. So, I mean, they've designed new
All
cameras
right,
for
let
him.
me throw this out there. Let me ask this. Okay, so you're Sony now, and you're in the executive offices at Sony, and you're understanding now that we don't get an IMAX release. Do you consider moving your release date for Spider-Man Brand New Day to get IMAX, or is the release date itself more valuable than getting IMAX screens? What do you do?
I think the release date's more valuable because you're in the middle
agree.
you're in the middle of
Yeah.
summer. But also, you know what you can do? Since you don't have IMAX screens, lean into the other.
Yeah.
Go for those Dolby. Go for the Cine XL.
Right.
Make sure that you're going to get the most premium of the premium formats that aren't IMAX.
Oh, you know this is gonna be like in what's the one at Regal that moves? The seats move.
Oh, the 40X?
yeah,
yeah,
because
40X.
you know, like Odyssey probably won't be, but Spider-Man would be.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw at the Irvine Spectrum that has an incredible IMAX screen. They also have the RPX. I saw Black Phone 2 in that, and that's another great presentation. So I would lean into those
Something
screens.
to keep in mind too, because I was looking at the calendar, and there is a Walt Disney Pictures Untitled release 1 week after Spider-Man, and then another one 2 weeks after Spider-Man. So maybe in that third week, maybe there's something with Walt Disney that is coming through that would be the fourth week run for Odyssey.
Here's the thing
Right.
too. I think this is what it comes down to. If I'm Sony and trying to say, well, how important is it for us to get IMAX? I know several people that if when Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out, if they have the choice to see it in IMAX, they're going to choose to see it in IMAX. However, none of those people are not going to go see Spider-Man if it's not in IMAX.
Right.
Like, I don't know a single person that is like, oh, I can't wait for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh, but it's not on an IMAX screen, so I
Yeah.
don't think I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know a single person on the planet that would do that. I'm sure maybe somebody would. But if people want to see Spider-Man, they're going to go see Spider-Man whether it's an IMAX or not. And therefore, I don't think Sony moves or doesn't. Now, look, maybe Sony will be able to swing a deal to get like one weekend or maybe to get a 4-day stretch or something like that. But
Could do a midweek. I bet you they could
some
make a
midweek
deal
thing, maybe.
for midweek.
Swing a deal with, but at this point, they'd have to make a deal with Christopher Nolan to get it. But
Yeah.
I just don't think it's important.
What I'm thinking though is slim chance. I get it, but seats aren't really selling that well by week 2.
Well, yeah, that'd
or
be the
into
only-
week 3, and it's like under half sold. Does IMAX say? Is there something in the deal where it's like if you're not within this percentage of sales that we can move times?
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
again, like, to your point, that whole conversation's moot.
Yeah.
Does anybody think IMAX screens for the Odyssey when it comes out are not still going to be sold out?
There's
on
gonna be
week 2?
repeat
Look what
viewers.
happened with Sinners.
Yeah.
I mean, Sinners, you had to
couldn't
book
get-
it weeks in advance.
Yeah, you had to get and the C-Note knows what's up.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently, Spider-Man Brand New Day, which will be huge, but it won't be counting IMAX money towards its coffers. Again, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, but is it a big deal to you? A lot of people are talking as if it is. What do you think ultimately will happen? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, it's now time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to bid good day to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett, who I'm sure has to watch it. Welcome to Derry.
I'm going to go watch it. Welcome to Derry. But remember, tomorrow night, if you live in Southern California, come to the Gardena Cinema to see the world premiere of our movie, White Devils. You can go to Eventbrite right now and buy tickets. Come down. I'll see you there. We can talk, watch our crazy little movie. And support an independent cinema. It's a family-owned theater.
There we go. All right, guys, let's get on now to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up, Amin says, wanted to say thanks again for the meetup last week. Was surreal to finally meet you. Hopefully when you head to New York in the new year, you'll come back home for a visit again and do another meetup. Whether it be Toronto or Hamilton, we'll be there.
Yeah, when I go back up to the northern parts of the States, I will definitely go home again. But I think the next meetup won't be in Hamilton. It will probably be in Toronto. Is probably where I'll do one up there. By the way, I still plan at some point, I'm going to do Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton maybe. I'm still going to do some Canadian cities, but that'll have to wait till after the winter's done. All right. What's next?
Okay, next up we've got Amin again. Follow up. It's December, and you're sitting down to watch Avatar. How many of the following trailers do you think you'll see before the film? He counts off Doomsday, Odyssey, new trailer, Supergirl, Brand New Day, Toy Story 5, Moana live action, and Mando, of course.
Keep that up there for a second, Jonathan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, understanding that Avatar is a Disney film, definitely Doomsday. I think Doomsday's for sure. No Supergirl. Brand New Day is a possibility, but I think they're going to save that for Super Bowl. Toy Story 5, maybe. Moana live action, yes. And Mando, maybe. I don't expect one for... What was the first one they listed? I don't
Doomsday.
expect one for the Odyssey.
Or Odyssey.
Yeah, I don't expect one for the Odyssey, but I do for a lot of those. Yeah. All right, what's next?
All right. Carlos, hey gang, are we going to see another cast announcement for Doomsday? Wonder why just particular X-Men are in the movie and not the rest. Thoughts?
The bigger question would why would they have more? I mean, they have particular X-Men because those ones are probably key to their story. You don't just throw in characters for the sake of throwing them in. You use characters that you think are going to be key to your story and will have an important part to play in your story and blah, blah, blah. So I do expect another cast announcement for Doomsday. Hopefully it's not a Chair Watch Part 2, but I do expect more announcements for casting. I don't expect any more from the X-Men side, though. I think that's probably the extent of the old X-Men characters that we're going to get. I don't know that as a fact, but I suspect that's as many. So why that many and not more? Well, why would you have more? I think they've got all the ones in there that they need. But we'll see. We'll find out. All right, what's next?
Forbidden. Let's see, would be a total missed opportunity to skip New Orleans around Halloween, but we totally get it. Not a very big city, and there are other attractions around this time, so hard to tell if anyone would show up. Also, beware of New Orleans witches. Oh, I think we read that one before. I think it got scrambled in there.
I would absolutely listen. I would love to visit New Orleans. I remember my mom and dad took a trip to New Orleans once, and they loved it. I would love to visit New Orleans. Again, it's just that I don't think we'll end up doing a movie meetup there because I don't know that we have. I've never had somebody writing in from New Orleans. And I put up a post, actually, Jonathan, on our community tab asking, hey, is anybody in New Orleans that would want to come to a movie meetup? We did one there. And I don't know that we got any responses. All the responses were,
I'll travel to
Michigan. No.
Oh.
It was come to Michigan or come to Alabama or come to whatever. But I don't think so. I don't know that we'll do one there. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, yeah, so there was some scrambling around, but I know this one is good to go. The McWhopper says, here's my speculation on Lantern's plot. Guy Gardner is framed for murder. Hal and John are sent to investigate. Also guessing Flag Sr. wrongly imprisons Gardner on salvation within first 2 episodes.
I don't mind the idea, because listen, they've been saying that this is going to kind of be a True Detective mixed with and a couple of other shows. So some kind of murder mystery, a murder to be solved or a string of murders to be solved, that's definitely within the realm of possibility. I kind of speculate that either like a Guy Gardner or Kyle Rayner or something like that ends up getting murdered, like another Green Lantern gets murdered, and, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart are on the case to figure it out. But the idea that a Lantern gets framed, that's not a bad idea. And maybe Guy is framed for a murder or something like that. I don't hate that idea. I don't know if that's the way they're going to go, and I don't think they're going to implement too much of Peacemaker into it, but I like that general notion, though. It'd be interesting. I still think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to end up being that, but I do like the idea. So I don't know. Let's see how it all works out.
All right,
what's next?
700 pounds of beef. That's a lot. You say Zaslav bought WB, or brought, not bought, WB from a 40 billion company to 70. But it ignores the fact that 70 billion now includes the whole Discovery arm that was not present when AT&T sold it for 40. The 40 only accounted for 70% of the new company at the time.
Discovery is also not worth that much. Which was part of the reason that when Discovery bought Warner Brothers, it shocked everybody. Because if anybody was taking over somebody else, it was absolutely Warner Brothers maybe would buy Discovery. So they did a lot of financial hoop jumping, and they did a lot of different arrangements to make that all happen. But the fact of the matter is that doesn't account for much of it. It really doesn't. And by the way, it's going to end up being more than $70 billion. It's going to end up more than $70 billion. When Warner Brothers sells, it's going to be a lot more than that. Now, there are a couple of other little factors as well that go in the other direction. But I didn't really cover them because they weren't really significant, much like the discovery value in and of itself is not all that significant. So that's why I only stuck to the main talking points, which were, look, overall, when it's sold, when it was bought for this. When it sells, it's going to roughly be this. By the way, Bank of America now is saying that it could end up being worth north of $85 billion. I have a hard time believing that, but again, Bank of America's analysts are saying that, and they know more about it than I do. But whether it does or doesn't, it's kind of inconsequential. The bottom line is this: when AT&T bought, it was worth this much. When AT&T sold, it was worth this much. Warner Brothers was an absolute, complete, unstoppable free fall. That's undisputed. There's no getting around that. That's exactly what it was. It was a company whose value was an absolute free fall, and it was going to be dead. And under David Zaslav, I don't care if you like him, I don't care if you don't, but the indisputable facts are that cataclysmic decline in Warner Brothers value stopped and has gone up. That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold David Zaslav says so. That's it. That's the bottom line. Now, how much more has it gone up? Is it actually 20 billion worth of more value when you consider all the factors? Is it actually 50 billion more in value when you consider all the factors? Is it 100 billion more when you consider all the factors? We'll find all that out once the sale's done. If it gets done, when it gets done, and for whatever amount it is. But the bottom line is, David Zaslav took that company from being an absolute cataclysmic freefall to, holy crap, he stopped the freefall. And actually, they're going to sell it for more than what they bought it for. We can nickel and dime about which parts go where, but it still doesn't change the fact. That's the story, and that's why this whole thing is so remarkable to me. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Anonymous went to Hollywood Horror Nights, Halloween Horror Nights, and it was fun, though every time I would enter a maze, I would put on punk rocker in my earbuds so I wouldn't be afraid.
I'm a punk rocker.
Which
yes, I am.
franchise would you like at Halloween Horror Nights? I would like Michael Jackson's Thriller, Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion really lends itself to that new land.
It really does.
So,
but that's over. Well, that's in Universal too. They got the Super Nintendo World.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. Ann and I go to Halloween Horror Nights every year at Universal Studios. It is absolutely fantastic. It's really fun. But I'm going to say something that my fellow Halloween Horror Nights fans might gristle at and think is sacrilege to say. They're all the same. All the mazes are the same. They are. They're all exactly the same. You enter, and they're great. They're awesome, great fun. But let's say you're doing a Stranger Things maze. You enter the maze, you go through these narrow corridors where every once in a while, something will jump out of the wall at you and scare the crap out of you. And then you'll walk through a little room that'll be all designed in the design of whatever the property is, and something else will jump out at you. It's the exact same thing. So the maze we go through in Stranger Things is the exact same room you go in for Us. Remember, they had an Us one. And only it was like the characters from Us jumping out at you, and rooms designed like they were in This Is Us. I mean, even the Killer Clowns from Outer Space one, it says that it's Killer Clowns from Outer Space instead of that. They're all the same. So I really don't care what the themes of the mazes are, because the mazes are fun. You have a good time going through them. And so, yeah, I love Halloween Horror Nights. The mazes are great. But I really don't care what properties they put in there, because all the mazes are exactly the same, basically. All right. What's next?
Judge Jeffrey Middleton, would you rather live in the hypothetical reality where you could see a Jim Henson directed Star Wars film or a Kubrick directed Star Wars film?
I don't think either are very interesting. I don't see. Obviously, I'm a big Kubrick fan and I'm a big Jim Henson fan. I don't see either one of those good fits for a Star Wars movie. I mean, if I had to take one, considering my absolute love in the fantasy realm of The Dark Crystal, I could sort of maybe see a Star Wars movie done in the vein of The Dark Crystal. But, I couldn't see a Star Wars movie done in the vein of Eyes Wide Shut. Although,
but 2000,
I would probably be there.
yeah,
I would probably go to see that. I won't say why, but yeah, I might be down for that. But no, honestly, if I had to pick one, I'll say Jim Henson.
there you go.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous, I heard your theory yesterday that maybe the person murdered is in Lanterns is Guy or Kyle. While I don't think they would kill Guy just yet, I do like the theory it's another Lantern who is murdered. My bet is that it's the original Lantern, Alan Scott.
Yeah, I mean, that's another option. Oh boy, when I mentioned Kyle Rayner, oh my God, I had a couple of comic book purists so fucking mad at me. You don't know anything, kid. Like seriously, like they couldn't sleep. You ever get a hate message that like you could just tell this person stayed up for hours trying to get all their vitriol out of them. You have no idea. You don't know how important Kyle Rayner's got, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, but he's not important to the DCU.
Mm-hmm.
He's had no presence in the DCU. You're not going to have 5 significant Green Lantern characters in the DCU. We already got Guy. We know we're getting Hal. We know we're getting John. Maybe you can make room for one other, but I mean, so having a name like a Kyle Rayner in the DCU would be great. That is not in any way undermining how great Kyle Rayner is in the comics and how significant the character has played in several stories in the comics. But the comics are the comics. The screen is the screen. They're two different things. And so, listen, I got no problem with it if they want to make Kyle Rayner a big character in the DCU. I'd be all for it. But I don't think there's a need for him. And why not do something like really narratively significant, like having the death of Kyle Rayner? I don't know. Anyway, I just thought it was funny that some people got like so mad they couldn't eat or sleep. The fact that I dare suggest that Kyle Rayner might be a murder victim. Anyway,
I mean, I was asked to be let go because one time I said that Taylor Swift's music wasn't for me. So
I remember that. We had to think about it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. What's next?
I asked myself, do I deserve to work anywhere? Jake G, The Last of Us Part 3 is happening, right? I mean, Neil Druckmann is just toying with us at this point. As someone in the industry who's smart, tell me this is happening.
Now you're talking about the game, Last of Us 3. I honestly don't know. Listen, if he's kind of revealed a couple times that, man, the fan community really turned him off. Like, it's one thing to say, I played this game and I didn't like it. Like, that's totally fair. But like, there are some people who basically made religions out of let's hate The Last of Us Part 2, which was a great game, by the way. Anyway, there are people who made entire movements out of it, made it a big political thing and made it a culture war thing and whatever. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Neil Druckmann looked at that and said, well, F all this. I'm not going to do another one. Not worth it. I wouldn't blame him. So I honestly don't know. I really don't know at this point. All right. What's next?
Cowboy Campea says, heard about a recent thing called second screen viewing. Well, we've been asked this before, which is a directive to simplify shows and plot lines to make things very obvious. Studios are doing it because they acknowledge that people are on their phone while watching TV. Your thoughts? That's
That's not what second screen is meant to me. I mean, like Amazon has done like several things like that, but what is it? Jonathan, do you have an idea about what it is he's saying, or I'm not really clear on what it is he's asking.
I kind of push back on this as well because the idea is that movie or TV show or streamers are producing content that, like, if you're looking at your phone on Instagram whilst you're streaming something, you can kind of still keep like your eyes on both and understand the plot, because the plot is not that, complicated. But I just kind of push back on that. I mean, what's the point? So the streamers are saying they really don't even have people's like attention. I don't know. I mean, are people really missing House of Dragon because they're too busy on TikTok? I mean, it's one or the other. I don't know.
All right. What's next?
We got Matan. There's a serious problem with Gen AI and LLM poisoning the internet with slop, turning some sites unusable or broken. I don't want AI that doesn't work or ruin in the movies with no substance that like it with social media. But you can tell online. That's a mile away. That's AI.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you can say the same thing of anything. You can say the same thing of CG. You can say the same, like, of course we don't want terrible product in movie, whether that terrible product is bad practical costumes or bad CG or bad AI. 100%. Like, nobody wants bad anything in a movie. However, we are all for good, whatever that is, in a movie. Like, we're all for good digital effects if they're done right. And whether that digital effect is done by, an artist using Blender or using Maya or using Lightroom or using whatever, or whether it's an artist using some kind of an AI tool in combination with that. I mean, the end product is the end product. So do we want ugly looking slop in it? Of course we don't, but we don't want ugly looking slop if it's practical. We don't want ugly looking slop if it's CG. We don't want ugly looking slop if it's AI. 100%. But that's not the question they're wrestling with. The question wrestling is, if we can make good stuff that's that, is it worthwhile pursuing? And that's the philosophical question that we should be addressing. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, the New York Post today, the Trump administration favors Paramount Skydance to buy Warner Brothers, Discovery, and a number of rival bidders are likely to face stiff hurdles from U.S. regulators in the blockbuster auction. Is anyone else going to be allowed to buy WB?
Look, this is outside of our normal purview. I'll just give my observations on this. If Warner Brothers is going to have a fiduciary obligation and responsibility to get the highest price they can for their shareholders, the way it would kind of work out is something like that. This is where it could get sticky and messy, and I'm not really quite sure how it would work out. Let's say Apple just makes the biggest offer. This is all theoretical, hypothetical, theoretical. Let's say Apple makes the biggest offer. Warner Brothers and their board and whatever have a fiduciary responsibility to then go with that offer, especially if it's like significantly more. Again, hypothetical, okay? So now, let's say the current administration says, well, that's not the stew we want. We want to buy Paramount. We want our servants over at Paramount to get it. So let's have our government come in and block it on whatever grounds we can. What will then happen is, if Paramount then gets it and isn't blocked,
right,
then there will be the mother of all lawsuits.
Yep.
That will happen. The mother of all lawsuits will happen. Because, again, in this hypothetical situation, Apple will move heaven and earth with their massive resources and sue the government agency and sue Warner Brothers and whatever, because saying, hey, we meet all the same obligations and standards as Paramount, yet you denied us buying it under these fake things, and yet you allowed it for this other company. That's against the law. That's a violation of the rules, and we're going to sue the hell out of you for it. So all I'm saying, how it all ultimately works out, I'm not really completely sure. I do know this. It's going to be messy. Now, none of this becomes an issue if, say, Paramount makes legitimately the biggest offer,
Right.
right? Then none of this is even an issue. If Paramount comes out and like Netflix says, hey, what Paramount's willing to pay for it, we don't think it's worth that. And Apple says, hey, what Paramount's willing to offer, we're not willing to make that much of an offer. If NBC Universal Comcast says, hey, we want it, but we're not willing to pay $100 billion the way Paramount's willing to pay for it, then that becomes much less messy. That becomes more clear cut. That becomes, hey, they were the biggest offer and the government agency decided to allow the merger. Then there's no, what is it about? No harm, no foul.
Mm-hmm.
But this whole thing becomes incredibly messy if somebody else makes the biggest offer and the current administration steps in and says, no, we're not going to allow it. Then that can become very, very problematic and very messy. But again, it may come to that. It may not.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Baby boy. So I was paying $12.99 for Apple TV Plus and $10.99 for Peacock. Today I saw that they bundled it for $14.99 for both. What a deal for now.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's there are several really good bundle deals right now, which is good for the streamers because it completely reduces churn. But it's good for us as consumers because we pay less. Because look, there's a deal out there right now for what was it? It was for Disney Plus, HBO Max, and something else for a price that is literally like 30 or 40% cheaper than what I'm paying right now for all three services. So bundles are a really good way to go. The problem with bundles is, eventually those prices are going to go up too, but we'll see. Keep your guys' eyes open because there's some good bundle deals out there. All right, what's next?
Casey. No film is ever necessary, but when the inevitable Speed Racer reboot comes, I'd love to see it in the Spider-Verse style animation. I always loved the concept of Speed Racer, but never could appreciate it in the mediums it was presented to me, if that makes sense.
I will be shocked if anybody does another Speed Racer. I don't think it has the pop cultural presence. The first one was certainly the thing they did theatrically in the medium that you're talking about, of course, which wasn't as favorable to you or to me for that matter, did completely badly. And I never hear people talk about Speed Racer as a property. Again, is it impossible in an industry where IP is king? Definitely not. But I'm just saying, whereas you're saying the ultimate inevitable redo of Speed Racer, I'm going the opposite way. I'm going to be really surprised and shocked if anybody makes a legitimate Speed Racer thing again.
Yeah.
It could happen. Absolutely, it could. I'm just saying I'm going to be really surprised.
We're seeing Jetsons. So
Jetsons is so anything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. All right, what's next?
Harry, this kind of touches on what we covered. The Trump administration reportedly really wants Paramount to acquire Warner Brothers. Warner really needs to think really hard about the odds of success getting the deal cleared with players outside of Skydance, says Senior Trump. Says the Senior Trump, probably official.
Yeah, but again, they're opening themselves up to a lot of lawsuits.
Yeah, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So how can you say, if Comcast, this is a monopoly, but if my friend Paramount, it's not a monopoly, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
again, there's a lot of legal exposure happening here. Again, none of this becomes an issue if Paramount makes, which very well may be the case, if Paramount legitimately makes the best offer, then there's no hurdles.
right.
Everything is fair. Everything's above board if Paramount legitimately makes the biggest offer.
And the shareholders are happy.
But if they don't make the biggest offer,
Yeah.
there's going to be problems, like real legal problems. Because theoretically speaking, it's one thing for the government to say, we would like it if somebody else won this, even though it's completely inappropriate for somebody in a government position to even be making statements like that. Radically inappropriate. But the government certainly is not allowed to exert influence on it, though. And they clearly are exerting influence. But again, that is not going to be a problem if Paramount makes the biggest offer, which they very well might. But if they don't, man, it's going to be a problem. All right, what's next?
Carl says, John, with a $20 tip, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Carl.
John, over the past 7 years, your show has turned my interest in movies into a lifelong
Oh,
passion.
thank you, man. I love hearing that.
I wanted to say thank you. Keep bringing on the filthy. And if and when you ever do a movie meetup near Cleveland, I'll be there. P.S. What's your favorite U2 song?
Well, number one, we will definitely be at least somewhere near Cleveland. Like, we are definitely going to do Ohio. We're like, once the winter's over, Ohio will absolutely be one of our stops. 100%. How close to Cleveland we get, I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be in Ohio. Yeah, I think U2 is the greatest band of all time. And they are my personal favorite band. I have everything except country. No knock on country. It's just not a music genre for me. That's all. But I have a very wide palette of music. I like a hell of a lot. Like, I'll listen, like, whether it's, I'll listen to Groban on in one track, and then the very next listen to some old Rob Zombie. And then I'll listen to, I don't know, some 80s. What was the name of the band that did Beds Are Burning Again? I can't remember. Oh, anyway, they're an Aussie band. And then I'll listen to some Kendrick Lamar. Like, I have a very wide palette. But yeah, and I think my favorite, I think that not just my favorite U2 song, I think the greatest song ever written is Where the Streets Have No Name. I just personally, to me, when you understand the meaning behind it and the soul of it, for me, the greatest song ever written is Where the Streets Have No Name. So I'm going to say that is U2's best song for me personally. All right. Somebody reminded me of this. Dirt on My Boots. Yeah. Not so much dirt on my boots.
We got Andrew Bond, who says, hey, John, I'm glad to see you're coming to Atlanta. Lived here my whole life and constantly go to AMC Phipps Plaza or AMC Madison Yards. Either would be great choices, so looking forward to meet up. Also, if you get dinner, then Steakhouse is a must.
Well, thank you for that recommendation. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to Atlanta. I haven't been to Atlanta since I was like, I spoke at that movie conference there a bunch of years ago, and I had a blast in Atlanta. I really did. I'm looking forward to the stop there. I'm really excited. We're going to do that next month. All right. What's next?
All right. We got
and Midnight Oil. Thank you. Jonas in the live chat. Midnight Oil's the band that said, how can we sleep while our beds are burning? That's such a catchy song. I think they were a one-hit wonder, but I love that song.
But I know the song. For sure.
All right, what's next?
And the band Gustavo. Hey, John and crew. For some reason, when I watched Foundation, I think that Cody Fern would be a great Bruce Wayne. Cheers from Brazil.
I don't know who that performer is.
Yeah.
I don't like, other than Harris and Lee Pace and one or two others. I don't really know the names of a lot of the actors in it, so I can't say, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Street Lampia says, when will Guillermo be freed from Netflix jail? It should be criminal for movies like this not to get full theatrical releases in the best theaters.
Yeah, I just don't know. Honestly, I think Guillermo del Toro is robbing himself of his prestige. I think he's robbing himself of his legacy. I think he's robbing himself by just making movies that get shit out on Netflix, that have no cultural impact. They don't have any long-lasting value. You know, everybody today still talks about Labyrinth. Everybody today, which is not a Guillermo del Toro movie. But I mean, look, it's just by crapping them out on Netflix, it's really like, I am very grateful that I got to see Frankenstein on the big screen. But and it might end up being my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie. It might. Currently, my favorite is Pan's Labyrinth, not to be confused with Labyrinth. But here's the thing, because it's just getting this small little limited theatrical release and then getting shit out on Netflix, people are not going to be talking about this Frankenstein movie 10 years from now the way they talk about Pan's Labyrinth. They're just not. Because that's not the place for master storytellers to tell their stories. And I would really, either Netflix start getting serious about their theatrical releases, or I'd really like to see Guillermo del Toro stop working with them so he can make movies that actually have true long-lasting impact, the way his art deserves to be appreciated. Anyway, that's just my thought. All right, what's next?
Cody Hunt says, caught the Springsteen movie last night. Not terrible, but I just felt bored. The performances were good, but it's a depressing movie. Much like the execs of the music label in this movie, I just ask myself who wants to see this.
Well, I mean, you were saying, you mentioned to me that, like, it's really more a movie. I had to pick one because of how busy my weekend was.
Yeah.
I could either go see Frankenstein or Deliver Me from Nowhere, and I chose to go see Frankenstein. I do want to see the Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah.
but you did see it.
Look,
What did you think about it? Deliver Me from Nowhere.
it could have been maybe 15 minutes shorter, 10 minutes shorter for sure. There was some pacing issues in the back half. However, this was much more than just a biopic or just the history of the album Nebraska. It really addressed mental health and depression, and how if you don't address that pressure valve, it could really collapse your life. I really did appreciate it on multiple levels. I kind of feel, Cody, you're taking a cynical approach where you say, well, the music label said, who even wants to hear this? Well, the album, it said in the movie, hit number 3 in the charts. And it was so successful that they pushed Born in the USA another 2 years from release. So that's who wanted to hear it. The album was a success, and everyone at the time were saying, who wants to hear him impersonate Bob Dylan? But I mean, Nebraska is an amazing album. And then just in terms of technical side of it, you want to get music nerdy about it. It was a great history. Obviously, it's based on, so I don't know how much is dramatified
Actually,
or whatever.
where they took creative license.
Sure. But I will agree there is some pacing issues with the second half. It could have been about 12 minutes shorter, but it's a little harsh from saying it's boring.
No.
But I will say, man, Jeremy Allen White. So I was looking at him. I'm like, there are times where I don't see Jeremy Allen White's face. I see Bruce Springsteen's face. I had to go back and I look at the album cover for The River. And I'm like, oh my God, I literally saw Bruce Springsteen's face as Jeremy Allen White.
Tell you what, man, I've grown up as there was a point in my life I thought I would spend my life pursuing music. I played in bands and stuff like that. And why didn't you do it? Because I realized I just wasn't good enough. But Bruce Springsteen's music was some of the most foundational things that made me a fan of music. And the stories Bruce tells in his music is part of what made me understand the impact music can have. Whether it's, obviously you got your big on the Glory Days, stuff like that, or Born in the US, but songs like Glory Days and I'm on Fire, and even in his older stuff, just such an important artist. And I'm looking forward to seeing it regardless.
All
right. What's next?
Critic. Sorry to bring up politics, but the Trump administration has announced they really, really want Paramount to buy WB. It's kind of weird that they're showing their hand. What about fair competition? All of a sudden, Netflix doesn't seem like a bad idea. Well, that'd still be a bad idea.
We're not going to go into the whole thing yet. Again, if Paramount makes the biggest offer, then none of this is controversial or an issue, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
All right. Timmy Blue Eyes. It's crazy to think that this year we could see Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel Day-Lewis, Timothy Chalamet, and The Rock all nominated in the same category for Best Actor at the Oscars. What a time to be a film fan.
I really don't think The Rock is going to get that nomination. There's just too many other performances. Because you know what name you left out? Michael B. Jordan for Sinners.
Yeah, and this isn't 10 films like Best Movie.
Yeah, there's just going to be 5 spots. And I just don't see Dwayne Johnson getting that nomination. Listen, Smashing Machine, despite the late criticism it started to get, I think it's a really good movie. And Dwayne is fantastic. I never thought Dwayne Johnson was capable of that kind of performance. But is it Oscar worthy? I'm not so sure, especially in a year that Daniel Day-Lewis came out of retirement, especially in a year where Timothy Chalamet is doing Marty Supreme, especially in a year where Michael B. Jordan is doing Sinners, especially in it's going to be tough. But you know what? I'll say this. As much as I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I've always said, he's never going to win an Academy Award. I don't know if I could say that with certainty anymore. Not this year, but now do I think he might have the potential in him to maybe one day give that performance where he gets an actual legit Academy Award nomination? It's not such a far-fetched idea to me anymore. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Dildar the Glorious, who says, one underrated actor I think deserves more respect and attention is Justin Chatwin. Everything he pops up in, I think he's great, but Dragon Ball Evolution really stained his chance in becoming bigger than he is now, which doesn't sit right with me.
I can't remember.
He was the son in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. He was also in Weeds.
Let me pull him up here on IMDb. And yes, it is unfortunate. A friend of mine was in that bad Dragon Ball movie.
You know, I kind of put Justin Chatwin in the same category as Nick Stahl, who was in Carnival and he was in Terminator 3.
I remember everybody thought he was really going to blow up.
A little inside baseball, but years ago I was working on writing a novel, and the main character, I envisioned Nick Stahl's face whenever I wrote the main character. Kind of fun fact there. But yeah, he kind of just went the same way as Justin Chatwin.
Yeah, I haven't seen much with him in it. I'm going down his filmography. I don't think I saw The Invisible. I mean, War of the Worlds, but that's hardly a thing.
And he was very young in that. But
he was only in a couple episodes of Weeds, so I don't remember which episodes he was in.
Like, he's a working actor. He's got stuff. It's just that he hasn't blown up.
All right, what's next?
All right. Let's see. Anonymous. Hey, John, I got kicked on Instagram and Facebook, which has been super frustrating. I'm taking a couple of years off and just using TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Discord for now. What do you think about that plan? I think the less social media, the better for your health.
Yeah.
Is what I think.
I have spent... Listen, don't get me wrong. I still like social media for the spirit of it. You know, for the spirit of what it's supposed to be. I'm on Instagram now more than I am in almost anything else. But even that, I don't... Like, I know some people that post like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 things a day on Instagram. And by the way, you can follow me on Instagram at John Campea. Go and follow me. If you don't follow me on Instagram, do go follow me there. But you know, and I'm not going to flood your notification box. I maybe do in an entire week 4 or 5 posts, right? 4 or 5 posts a week on Instagram. So I'm not going to flood your inbox. So by all means, please go follow me on Instagram. But other than that, I think we're all too obsessed with social media and people are on it too much.
I like to look at pictures on Instagram, and I really tried to get out of debates anymore.
Yeah, I just don't get involved in discussions on there anymore. Yeah. It's pointless.
Anonymous. Hey, John, sorry, that posted twice. Okay. We got Matan, how Iger and Bergman having the power to cancel Lucasfilm movies as they are ready to start production is any different than Chapek's Bankman Buddy did. Is only is that left field get that treatment or others do? Well, I don't get the last part, but it's different. I mean, he was the banker.
I'll tell you something. Listen, all due respect, we get some of the dumbest questions from this person. The difference is Bob Iger and Bergman are seasoned industry people with massive track records of success. The Bob Chapek situation was a guy who was a banker who had no qualifications for the job, but he was loyal to Bob Chapek, and Bob Chapek created a middle layer of management.
Yeah.
You're talking about the CEO of the company and the head chairman of the film board who have purview over all of that. Plus, you had Lucasfilm that had a massive string of failures, and therefore at some point the bosses needed to step in and kind of lay some ground rules down. If you think there's any resemblance between those scenarios, I simply don't know how to help you. That is just an idiotic kind of comparison.
And let's face it,
just really dumb.
The company wants to get away from episode 9. They want to get away from that stuff. That's why they're pushing back on. That's why Rey is delayed if it ever happens, and that's why this deal with Kylo Ren is not going to happen.
They just want to separate themselves as much, but it's not at all an even remotely similar set of circumstances. Not even remotely similar. Anyway.
Oh, we got a couple Ian McAllisters here, with Bear McCreary scoring both recent God of War games and working previously with Ronald D. Moore on Battlestar Galactica, Outlander, and For All Mankind. Is it a safe assumption he will be back for Amazon's God of War? His score of it is one of the best.
You never know because of schedules and like they may already have things lined up to work with and all. So it's hard to say. So I don't think it's safe, but should we be surprised if it happens? Absolutely not. I mean, that would be something that we would not be shocked at all to see.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
So, and then follow up from Ian. Overreaction God of War will probably be Ronald E. Moore's magnum opus. I would hope so, but I don't know.
No, obviously it would be great.
But then you're saying it's better than Battlestar,
and Battlestar to me is the greatest television show of all time. I'm just speaking for myself because it's all subjective. But for me, Battlestar Galactica is the greatest show of all time. So that's his magnum opus. I'm not expecting God of War to be as good as Battlestar Galactica, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be the greatest show of all time to be awesome. I'm just expecting it to be awesome. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, I have a feeling that the Michael Jackson biopic is going to surprise a lot of us. Has the chance to be top 3 selling box office film for 2026.
I don't know who's going to be surprised by that. I mean, listen, if Bryan Singer can make a Freddie Mercury biopic and almost make $1 billion at the box office, guys, look, you should not be surprised. When Michael makes all the money in the world, we should not be surprised. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. This thing is going to make a ton of money, an absolute ton of money. Now, I'm not sitting here saying it's going to be a $2 billion film, but it's going to be big, man. It's going to be very, very big. All right. What's next?
Bruce Leroy says Lionsgate got them their first $1 billion film with Michael. Is that an overreaction?
I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
Nothing's a guarantee, but I think that is very, very possible that Michael could be.
Lionsgate would be very happy.
Yeah, they'd be like, and they need it.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of Lionsgate.
Yeah, me too.
Big fan of Lionsgate. I love a lot of stuff. I love their whole philosophy. I love how they approach the movie business. I really like Lionsgate. But I mean, it's clear they have had a struggle the last couple of years. And with some movies that really, quite frankly, deserved to make a lot more and didn't, and some movies that simply didn't work. But yeah, they definitely would love to have $1 billion film with this. And I think they have a very good shot at it. All right, what's next?
Hercules says, even though I've researched and watched behind the scenes about how some movies were created, I still enjoy watching them just as much as before I learned how they were created. Makes me appreciate all of the time and effort involved in filmmaking.
Tell you what, man, seriously, one of the big things I loved about buying DVDs and Blu-rays was I was obsessed with watching the making of, like, what they would do, whether it was a big visual effects movie or a more somber drama, like what goes into making them. I feel like some people don't want to know how the sausage is made, but when it comes to movies, it makes me personally appreciate it even more. So I'm with you on that. All right, what's next?
Megan's Master. I hope the day never comes when political advertisements are shown at movie theaters because they might result in division and disgust from some people. Will. Going to the theater should be an experience to get away from the outside world and all of its problems.
Yes and no. I mean, movies have always been art that reflects the world the artist lives in, the world the way the artist perceives it, the world the artist fears it could be, and the world that the artist dreams it could be. That's always been a part of film. Star Wars, the original Star Wars by George Lucas, is a heavily political film. Just go and read what George Lucas said about what all the allegories were. I mean, it was drawn on, influenced a lot of great classic cinema, but it was very much politically a response to a lot of things that were going on in the world. And so all great cinema is, in the sense that great movies are an artist's expression of something the way they see the world, the way they fear the world, the way they hope for the world, what they draw on from our past, what they see in our future. And then a lot of people interpret those as being political. And I've never understood some people's ideas of keep politics out of movies. Well, then there's never been a movie. usually when people say they want politics kept out of movies, what they're really saying is we want the politics we don't like kept out of movies. We only want the politics we like in movies. But, for me, I always go back to this one movie as an example. There are thousands of examples, but the one I really like to use was Clint Eastwood made a movie called The $1 Million Baby. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a wonderful movie about a man faced with a horrible decision. And that character made a certain decision in the movie, right? And a lot of people got very angry at the movie for the decision the guy made. I'm going to spoil the movie right now, but I mean, the movie's multiple decades old now. If you haven't seen it, then you're not planning on seeing it. But at the end, his protege, this girl, ends up paralyzed from the neck down after an incident that happened in the ring. And she asks him, Clint Eastwood, to help her end her own life. So he's faced with this horrible decision. And at the end of the film, he decides to help her end her own life. Do I agree with that decision? No, I do not. And a lot of people got very angry. I remember there was the Oscars that year, and there were protesters at the Oscars saying, Clint Eastwood is saying people with physical disabilities are useless and that people with disabilities should just be put to sleep.
Nope.
And it's like, no. He was telling the story of a man who was faced with an impossible decision. And he just told us in the story, this is what this man did, but he wasn't saying this is what all of humanity should do. And listen, I fall very far from the political spectrum that Clint Eastwood is on. But it doesn't at all affect the way I appreciate his movies, telling stories about the world through his lens. And I think that makes movies more rich and more valuable. And I love seeing movies like that, even if they are movies about people doing things that I don't necessarily agree with. That's why it's a movie. And that's where the value comes from. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a deep question that always gets brought up a lot. But I will just end it by saying this. Again, I found it to be very much a truism that when somebody says, keep politics out of it, two things are true. Number one, the person saying it is the one bringing the politics into it. And number two is what they're really saying isn't keep politics out. You're saying keep the politics that I don't like out. And that's what I normally found about us as fans. Now, as far as to your question about having political commercials in there, here's what I would say. I would be okay with a movie theater accepting political ads in their pre-show if they did both.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had Gussie and Edith running for my local political office, that's fine. Make sure you allow both of them to put ads in there if they want. That would be my thing. But anyway, don't really care. All right, what's next?
We got Tilly Norwood's boyfriend. I'm fascinated by the landscape of the human face. What I mean is there's so much information actors can convey with their emotions, especially if they're talented. Close-up shots can be great. Sometimes facial emotions are more powerful than words.
Which is one of the reasons why it's difficult. Like when people say, well, if you're going to make a Halo movie, make sure Master Chief never takes off the mask. That's fine for a video game. It can be really effective. I don't know if that would work as well. You're robbing the performer of 50% of their performance. I mean, a great example of that is just the first 10 minutes of There Will Be Blood, which I believe there's no dialogue in the first 10 minutes. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but go see that. I mean, it's all just done with expression and movement and all that kind of stuff. But yes, it's a huge tool in the belt of a good actor.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is you can also do the inverse of that. You can have the same expression and the filmmaker or the DP can make you feel like they're conveying a different Like, remember the old screen test where it's the same actress for like the silent era, where it's the same facial expression, but it's like, oh, he's hungry. Oh no, he's heartbroken. Oh no, he's satisfied. And it's literally, when you go back and look, it's the same expression. So even within that world, like, you can have the same expression and ideas can be sprung from the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And again, I'm seeing some people say, no, you don't get it with Halo. Video games are video games.
Yeah.
Doing it right in movies requires something different. And you just have to understand that and accept that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more.
Okay. Bailey, hi, John and crew. Just watched the oh boy, just watched Shawshank Redemption for the first time this week. However, not the movie. It was a stage adaptation.
Okay.
That was currently touring the UK. It was fantastic. I was so invested in the story.
Yeah,
That's
listen,
cool.
Shawshank Redemption, straight up, is one of the greatest films ever made by mankind. It is just one of the absolute great. It is one of the rare examples of filmmaking perfection. It is a perfect movie. It is a movie with no flaws, which is crazy. So you're saying it's the greatest movie of all time? Not having any flaws doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, but it is a perfect film. I love that movie. I can't imagine it as a stage play.
I think it would be really cool.
That's ambitious, man.
Yeah.
Doing that as a stage play, I'd be kind of down to seeing that. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And all right, guys, listen, there are still a few more questions we didn't get to, but don't worry, we'll pick things up on tomorrow's show. So that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who did send in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. A big thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett, of course, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea, and until tomorrow, my friends, bye-bye.